we are live! Thank you guys so much for being here. This is super awesome. We got a full room. This is like standing room only. This is great. There's even people standing. So, welcome to the trial of Gawyn Jakan, our prosecution team. Here to give us an unquestionable truth of why Gawyn is a poor character. Would you guys like to introduce yourself? Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm Critter XD. I am a TikToker, YouTuber. I'm Egwene Alvear on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. You should join my Discord if you're not there yet. And I'm here to absolutely trounce Gawyn.
Please check to make sure the microphones are on.
There we go.
Make sure the microphone is on.
Is it on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, can people hear us live? Okay, here we go.
Make sure it's on. The button on the bottom. All the way on the bottom.
I need a bottom. I'm not going to answer that question. I need a bottom. Okay. Whoa. Hey, that was loud.
Push the tape.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Do you want to do that again real quick so people can hear you?
Sure, I'll do it quickly. Hi, I'm Critter XD. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I have a Discord. And I'm Egwene Alvear on Twitter. And despite that, I am here to trounce Gawyn.
Okay, and you may know me from the Black Tower podcast. I am the Sora Von Mahale Josh. Yeah! And, I will say I'm not here to trounce Gawyn because he already did it himself. Right. Okay, on the other side of the table, we have our honorable defense team.
Going first? Hello, everyone. My name is the Master of the Deck. You can find me on Twitter or moderating the Dusty Will live stream sometimes. And I am here as part of Gawyn's defense because I believe even the worst of characters and the best of them do deserve somebody to speak for them and tell all of y'all why you're being unreasonable.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I go by Brother Dan. I'm part of the Way of the Leaf. And I am here to set y'all straight and to get away from the brainwashing that you've been subjected to.
All right, I am Dariush Sadai. I'm here with him. I'm gonna say we can go with honorable. I came largely because when they asked for a moderator, I asked, "Can I have a gavel?" And they said yes.
I'm sorry, what's that gavel's name?
The gavel, the mighty Mahalaneer. It is engraved. Okay, so largely the format of this: the prosecution is going to give their arguments, the defense is going to give their arguments. You guys can ask us questions, and then we're going to have a jury vote.
And you are the jury.
You are the jury.
Is it time for the "You Have a Sacred Duty" speech?
And folks, just as a point of courtesy, we do have some empty seats in here, and we have some people that aren't here yet. If you're on this side of the room, if you wouldn't mind scooching over so that any empty seats are available to the people closer to the door.
Squeeze in.
And if we do not have anyone who is hard of hearing or otherwise needs the accessible seats, you may fill those in last. I give you permission. It's my job. Thank you.
We're all friends here.
What? I can do it, or we can make Tavern do it.
Okay. If there's questions from the audience, would you mind walking a mic around?
I can do it. Perfect.
Perfect.
This one, whenever.
Hey!
All right.
Bailiff, if you can handle the microphone, please. Thank you.
Opposite Burns.
Might as well take it off our hands.
Opposite Burns.
I think it's on. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And I will pass it to the prosecution for their opening statement.
May it please the court. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, counsel, Your Honor, Gawyn sucks. I can't hardly believe that I have to come here and prove it, but I am happy to do the creator's work. So, Siri's mad at me for something.
Siri, you are out of order.
Today, we will prove Gawyn deserves every ounce of ire given to him by the vast majority of the Wheel of Time fandom. It is deserved because he is, feel free to repeat after me, stupid, selfish, paternalistic, the less hot brother, and probably bad at sex.
Egwene seemed to enjoy yourself fine enough.
That goes back to the selfish part. Number 5 and 2 are.
So we're going to begin with why Gawyn is stupid. First of all, his first real infraction in the Wheel of Time, we believe, is when he sided with Elida, despite the fact that let me go. His sister was on Team Swan, working for Swan, and you know what he decided? He decided that he knew better. He decided that he didn't need to listen or trust that Elaine knew what she was doing, and instead, he went the other way. Also, he killed his mentor. He killed his mentor in the process.
Judge,
I'm sorry.
you want to make their point? Come on, Judge. Judge, it's Hamar. He killed Hamar. He fucking killed Hamar.
Stop interrupting.
Yeah, objection, okay?
Objection.
I think the main question here is who made Gawyn the authority on what is right and who was right, Elida versus Swan. I feel like he wasn't the one to make that call, but he decided that he was. Let's see. Also, another thing in the stupid column is he believed consistently that Rand killed his mom, despite everyone telling him that that wasn't the case. He heard rumors and decided that that was what happened. And when Elaine and Egwene and whoever the hell else told him that wasn't true, told him that, he still didn't believe it because, repeat after me, he thought he knew better. Okay.
And okay, so now I'm going to point out the evidence as to why Gawyn is selfish. Okay. Not only does he think he knows better, right? But he sides with Elida, which is in the stupid column. They do all the dumb things that they do. And at Demise Wells, he says, I am done with this. Elida, you're the worst, and I can't believe you've duped me for this long. What does Gawyn do? Does he go back home to Andor to fulfill his duties? No.
No, he doesn't.
Does he do anything in any meaningful way? No, he goes camping. He takes his bros, he goes camping for months, and then he sees Gareth Bryn and he's like, hey, there's my old mentor with an army of Aes Sedai. Maybe I should do some raids against them. Why? Because it might be cool. It might make me look cool. And then at one point in time, Gareth Bryn sits him down and says, son, you fucking up bad. You need to do your duty. You have a duty. You need to go home. You need to be there for Elaine. Stop this nonsense. And his response, yeah, but Egwene is right there. And selfishly keeps his younglings in the wilderness, men who are following him because he's chasing tail. Selfish.
All right, so we mentioned before that Gawyn thinks he knows better than everyone, and we've agreed, I would think, that no, he doesn't. He even thinks that he knows better than the woman that he ditched Elaine for, Egwene. He repeatedly disobeys her orders, despite the fact that eventually it became his job to obey them. His savior complex is off the charts even when he's told, nay, ordered to stand down.
And then we get to the point in time in which young Gawyn gets everything he ever wanted. He's absolved from his duties in Camelin. Elaine says, we got it, man. Really. Go be with the lady you love. He goes back to the White Tower, and Egwene's like, Gawyn, you and me are tight. Now, which might be Egwene's one character flaw.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk, everyone has that relationship in their life, okay? But we're not talking about Egwene. We're talking about Gawyn. And he consistently messed it up. In the end, Egwene is saying to him, I need you by my side. I need you to help me lead the forces of the light. He's been trained for this his entire life. He's been trained to be a leader. He's been trained to be a general, to lead his men into successful, glorious, amazing battle and victory. And what does he do? I got suicide rings. I'm going to put them all on and go there and attack someone.
Not just anyone either.
And not just anyone. The big boss. And now some people say, if he would have just gone to Egwene and said, this is my plan. Release the bond. That way, my selfish actions don't endanger literally all of creation. But he didn't, because he wanted the edge of the water bond. And he used Egwene to that end, because he thought he knew better.
So in sum, that was his paternalistic side, right? He thinks he knows everyone. He knows better than everyone, including Egwene, the Amerlin seat. Mother. So he's stupid, selfish, paternalistic, and as I said before, he's the less hot brother, and he's probably bad at sex. We yield the rest of our time.
We are not going to be a tag team such as the prosecution was. We are going to be a united front. And so we are going to be discussing our points together. But just to give you a little summary in defense of Gawyn, the reasoning here and the question of this panel, which I find hostile, is why do we hate Gawyn? I ask, why do you hate Gawyn?
Yes.
And in my opinion, and what we will be doing today is showing why Gawyn is a character who has, rather than hate, has earned empathy and has earned pity and is a fundamentally tragic character in his arc in the Wheel of Time. And so our points are as follows. We're going to be discussing what we call the Nickelback phenomenon.
Wow, they're really using the Nickelback defense.
After which we will discuss reader perspective bias. We will have a short discussion of empathy, as that is one of the things we are here to encourage today. And finally, we will also ask the question, is he responsible for Egwene's death? Spoilers. I mean, you came to the wrong fucking panel if you weren't expecting that. Come on, man. It's at least a quarter of their argument. Come on. So we'll go back to the first one. Brother Dan, would you like to discuss what we refer to as the Nickelback phenomenon?
Yes. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, my colleagues. Thank you all for being here. We have room if you guys want to squeeze in. There is available.
You have my permission to use
Right in the front row.
seats as well. They have not been claimed by anyone with hearing or vision needs.
No, keep it on. Keep it on.
No,
Go on, brother.
the coolest people in the world. Everyone's like, I'll just watch that. So let me remind you who Gawyn is as we meet him. The first time we meet him, Rand breaks and enters.
We'll get back to the Nickelback phenomenon.
We'll get back to we'll get to that. Hold on.
Meandering.
We will get to that. Rand is cool. Gawyn is cool. Rand is so when I finished the book series, I read through the book series, and then I got onto the fandom, and I was kind of shocked that people did not like Gawyn. This was actually new to me, and people were like, "Yeah, fuck Gawyn."
Objection, relevance.
Fuck Gawyn is what they said. It's a quote.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay.
Objection, hearsay.
I
You heard them say it.
I read it. Here's evidence.
I will allow it.
Give my co-counsel a second. The
Order. You can only agree to fuck Gawyn if he's not the less hot brother.
Or in his dream.
Look, in an alternate universe, Gawyn is a male stripper. I just believe that. Beside the point, though, the Nickelback phenomenon. Nickelback phenomenon. We're all familiar with Nickelback is the band everybody loves to hate. But can you articulate why you actually hate them? Some of you, perhaps. Most of us, meh. The hate that this band has been given, or alternatively, if you don't hate them, do you feel like you are safe to say anything or to speak up or to be open about enjoying and wanting to sing along to How You Remind Me and Rockstar when they come onto the radio, because the radio still plays? So the Gawyn is hated on the principle of a bandwagon and peer pressure more than anything else. And once it became the thing to hate Gawyn and to say fuck Gawyn and to automatically assume that Gawyn is a piece of shit, anyone who has a differing opinion does no longer feel welcome to say it. And thus, the overwhelming majority of the visible opinion that we see about Gawyn is that he sucks. And when we see that, it becomes a normalcy bias. And therefore, the lack of defense and from fear, frankly, I think, of being harassed on the internet is one of the things contributing to Gawyn's hate. Which brings us to our second and logical conclusion, our reader perspective bias. But what we mean by this is that when we're reading these books, we are coming from the perspective of what we know, and we know many things that these characters don't know. How often have you been like, wow, if they just talk to each other, right? We wouldn't be in this position. Well, some of the judgments that we make about Gawyn, such as him being dumb or being selfish, are based on things that we know that he has no reasonable reason to also know. Such as the truth about the death of Morgaze.
Correct. So he justifiably thinks that Rand killed his mom. We don't have Google, all right? In this, and let me remind you that 1/3 of the people now still think that the election was false. So we should be able to embrace that Gawyn had some false information and was working off of this.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna need a stiffer drink.
Had the discussion about fucking.
When Egwene enters his dream, he even has a dream about killing Rand. This is a deep-seated feeling. This isn't flippant. This is something that is part of his being. And it's misguided. Are we hating a guy because he's wrong and suffering trauma about who killed his mom? I mean, how many crime stories have we had where there was a death and someone became hey, I had to become the detective myself. I had to do this thing because I wasn't getting the right information. I had to do. Why can't we just show a little empathy? Gawyn did not have a father figure in his life for most of his time. Well, let's segue. Fuck it. He did not have a father figure. He was raised as a soldier. He was the first prince of the sword. First prince of the sword. As an infant,
Bart would like to remind the jury that he reneged on his duty as first president.
Oh, you know what? This is
Multiple times.
The judge is shown bias. We ask him to recuse himself.
It's our contention that Gawyn has never strayed from his fundamental path. Correct. He has always been loyal. He has always shown extreme loyalty. As a baby, he was walked to Elaine's crib, and Gareth Bryn gave him a sword and made him speak an oath. And Gareth Bryn was like, he understood that shit. That 2-year-old knew what he was saying. Everything he has done has been consistent. The only fault is that he did not succeed. He wasn't evil. He didn't balefire people. He didn't put people in a box. He didn't put collars on people. He did not do. Hey, I can list. He didn't flay anyone. He didn't enslave. He didn't have a pet Myrddraal. Hold on. There's lots of things to hate about other people. Gawyn has not done any of this shit. He did. All right.
Thanks, Brother Dan. Round of applause for Brother Dan from The Way of the Leaf, my friends. The passion is real. We beg for empathy. Brother Dan touched on some important points. I'm going to expand on a couple of those quickly here. And that is everybody thinks Rand killed more gays, except for the people who were there, who know that it didn't happen. And even when we get to the end of the story, there are many characters that Morghese herself doesn't fucking know that it was Robin who was there and manipulating her until it's said in their own little mini courtroom. That is something that happens late game. The communication, the channels that are open to people. Egwene never specifically tells Gawyn what happened to his mother because she doesn't know. So Gawyn himself doesn't have reason to believe that it didn't happen that way, especially given the zeitgeist of how people believe who the Dragon Reborn is, the fear that they have of him, this sort of boogeyman type character, even more than a boogeyman, this apocalyptic character. Why wouldn't you think that this person who is supposed to break nations and bring people to their knees would kill a monarch and take her place, which is even what the nobility in Andor believes happens when Elaine arrives into Andor to claim her throne. And so what reason does he even have to trust Egwene when she says that Rand did not kill his mother, that she's his childhood friend? There's a bias right there. Gawyn's occasionally dumb, but he does understand things. And he can interpret situations as suspicious, which is... Thank you. So he's not the only person who believes that it was Rand who killed his mom. Is just one of the last people to hear about it. He's the last person to hear about a lot of shit. Let's be honest. No one tells Gawyn anything. Okay, finishing this up here. In our argument about empathy, we think of this as he's a traumatized character. Like many of the people in the Wheel of Time who experience trauma, such as Rand and Egwene and Perrin and Matt and Morghese and pretty much everybody, let's be honest. Gawyn is someone who, as Brother Dan brought up, was traumatized by early losses, shared with his sister, such as the death of his father under very suspicious circumstances that might have involved the court bard at the time. Experiences in war, such as killing his mentor, and what he believed he was doing the right thing at the time. In his conversation with Sleet later in The Gathering Storm, when he expresses his guilt over the act, Sleet says that he would have killed you. And so he was not just killing his mentor, but he was defending his life as well. And he beat a fucking blade master too. It ain't no peanuts.
Become a blade master, but you kill your mentor.
And there aren't that many of them around, you know. Somebody's got to die. In continuing, so he kills his he kills his mentor, and then later he also has to abandon another mentor figure, which is Elida. And in a further point of this, Elida, lest we forget, was also one of Elaine's mentors and was trusted by the Queen of Andor for decades as an advisor. What reason did Swan Sanche give to Gawyn, or really any of the other Aes Sedai in the tower at that time, to trust her, to trust that she had the best interests of his sister, who he had not heard from in weeks, who was gone, missing from the tower? Swan Sanche, in her own way, lied to him about what was going on with his sister. Whereas Elida, coming back to the tower, someone who he has had experience with over his life, literally grew up with as someone who his mother, who we all believe is a smart and competent woman, trusted to give him accurate information. And so when Elida comes in and provides the alternative to the Amerlin who has disappeared his sister and given him no information and treated him with profound disrespect, why should he have sided with her? What fucking reason did she give him to do that? Of course he picked Elida's side. And of course, with that confidence and charisma that he has, his friends followed him. Many of them did. And so Gawyn, as someone who was either abandoned or betrayed by people who should have had his back like he had theirs. Elaine left him with nary a word. Galad, who the fuck knows what he did when he fucked off with Eamon Valda, that snake. And Elida herself, who both took advantage of his trust and then later tried to kill him, was a final nail in the coffin of Gawyn's faith in people that he should have been able to trust.
One final thing. Let me just remind you guys about how awesome Gawyn is in his fight scenes. So we have a few. Whoa. We're gonna hold on. We're gonna hate Gawyn.
Matt Coffin might have something to say.
We're gonna hate Gawyn. Hold on. Some of the more epic sword fight scenes happen with Gawyn. I will remind you of two. One of them is when he takes on 3 blood rings, blood ring knives. He takes on 3 of them, and they're shadowy, right? He's fighting. They're ahead of him. They're doing that Sanderson thing where they jump ahead. And what does he do? He cuts the candle. Then it's all dark. Choom, choom, choom. He severs 3 heads. It's a little longer than that, but it's awesome. It's amazing. And when you guys read it, your jaw was on the ground. You're like, Gawyn, you incredible man. You did it. He also takes on 3 Shido. 3 Shido. I mean, they were veiled. 3-on-1. He it's awesome. It's like 3 pages of awesome.
Here we go.
All right.
I would like to submit to the panel about Gawyn and Gawyn. Sorry, I can't talk at all. I'm on like my 4th drink. The dreams and the violation of the dreams. And is there any?
I'm sorry. Can you?
That we
so
need to have here
who are you putting? Where's the subject and the direct object of the sentence? Who's violating who, in your opinion?
Gawyn is going into Gawyn's dreams and manipulating him on that level, which he is unaware of. Is that admissible into the court here?
I will allow the prosecution to answer this question first.
Happily. First of all,
We're going to yield the remainder of our time.
If you'll recall, whenever you are near someone who you feel very strongly about, whenever you're floating in the little sparkle place, that's a term of art, actually, you get drawn into the dreams. And so at least at first, there are moments where Egwene is just kind of hanging out. And then all of a sudden, if I recall, the sparkle comes towards her and it comes towards her and she can't really resist going into it. So I think the blame being placed on Egwene in that circumstance is inappropriate, and I don't appreciate it. She does. She does.
So what the prosecution is saying is that she just couldn't help herself. Gawyn's sparkles were just too sexy. He could not resist and control. She could not resist and control her own urges, and it is absolutely the victim's fault.
Yes, absolutely. We discussed that Gawyn is Egwene's one character flaw.
What?
Hey, this is Gawyn, not Egwene.
I'm not sure what's happening right now. We do have another question from the audience from Lisa the Wisdom. I should put my glasses on so I can read shit.
Lisa the Wisdom.
So I got two questions actually. One pertaining to the dream. Yes, she was drawn into
Close to your
it.
mouth.
She was drawn into it, but not by her not by because she wanted to. He literally pulled her in like
Thank
a
you.
bad rape scene.
What? Hold on. We can't play.
Yeah, 2 parts.
Well, the second part, give it a second, Brother Dan.
And second, how can you say that he was, how did you put it, loyal when he left Elaine,
Literally.
and just forget his oath? That's not loyalty.
She left first. She left him. Literally. He didn't have anyone to leave.
No. She was ordered to go, and she couldn't.
No, she wasn't. She was not invited. She invited herself along. Literally.
The second time,
No. The first time she invited herself along. She wasn't supposed to be there. Anyway. Well, before we move on, the first, you did have a first point which I find very worth responding to, in which case Egwene is the one with the power in the situation. She has the responsibility to use the gift that she has with responsibility, and she used it to spy on people's dreams, the very inner thoughts of their lives, what they have, the things that they quite literally have no control over. Are we going to prosecute people for thought crimes that they have no control over committing? If you do something in your dream, does it mean that you need to be punished for it in the waking world?
So many times.
In which case, Gawyn had no idea that it was the real Egwene in that dream. He doesn't have any dream manifestation powers that would make him do something, pull her in more strongly, or what it might have been. She was warned by her mentors who told her not to fucking do that shit, to stay away from the void with all of the dream bubbles in it. And her lack of responsibility, her reckless use of her powers of dreaming, put her in a position where she profoundly violated someone else's privacy.
Well said.
All right, we have some questions. On my way to the questions, I just want to say, who's on trial here?
Amen. We're not putting Egwene on trial.
I was just about to say that.
Objection.
Objection.
I mean, if part of your reasoning is that Egwene made a mistake,
Yeah, and we don't hate her.
Go ahead, stand up.
My name is Barry.
Hi, Barry.
I have a question for
Barry?
the prosecution,
Absolutely.
and that is most of the things that you're complaining about Gawyn are primarily, they all relate to him being stupid. Almost probably 90% of them.
Sure.
So you're criticizing him for being stupid, a genetic disorder. What I want to ask is what
Barry. Oh my God.
I've got this.
what Aes Sedai in her right mind with any sense would bond the village idiot?
I'll,
and
yeah, right. Excuse me. I would like to say that Gawyn is stupid in a lot of ways, but he is also, I will admit, smart in other ways, including tactics, as admitted by a lot of people. So what's good about a ward? Like, what do you want in a warder? Probably a tactical mind, which we know that he has. He
raided against Gareth Bryn and was successful. Like,
and also, I will remind you, Egwene is not on trial here. Gawyn is.
Can I redirect a question just for us? Is it more fair to say that Gawyn made stupid decisions as opposed to Gawyn is stupid?
no.
Let the record stand.
All right, we have questions.
We have one in the back and we got one in the
Yeah, I'm
front.
going in order. So we
All right.
1, 2.
Fine. Do your fucking job, bro.
I'm doing it.
This is why it's not.
I'm not Gawyn.
This is not a con for children.
Objection, badgering the jury.
I took a couple notes, so.
She ready. Hey, round of applause for notes. How much time do we have?
So, number one, I'm going to pretend to be Gawyn. I picked the side of the Amerlin and the White Tower, and I do it again. Ask Egwene. She agrees with me that the tower should never have been split. Number two, you wouldn't like Galad because you thought you'd like me in book one, and then bam, Galad's the awesome one. Without me, Elaine would be the worst track end.
Okay, fine. We found one redeeming quality.
Can someone tweet that on the Overheard at WatCon hashtag, please?
And then last but not least, without me, Egwene would not have been so heartbroken. She went all light torch on the Dark Friends and died an epic death. I am responsible for the light winning the last battle.
Let's go!
I'm sorry. Are you taking away the agency of the main female character in the Wheel of Time? Let's reconsider that.
Wait. No, you know what? No, you know what? No. This is actually a very valid point because you're right. That is something that Gawyn would say.
You guys seriously, raise a hand. Who thinks Gawyn is the worst character in this book? Just see, I mean, it's like I'm trying to teach atheism to Christians right now. It like you guys are already convinced.
All right.
Before we take more questions,
Yes.
the prosecution does have some rebuttals to.
Thank you.
judge that.
We reserve
Okay,
some of
so
our time.
a pause on our questions. We will return to something approaching order.
Thank you. You can relax for a moment. Okay, great. So, first of all, I'm just going to go in order of their points. So this may feel mildly disjointed, but it's because what they were doing was somewhat disjointed.
It was flexible.
Okay, flexible. First of all, they say that you only don't like Gawyn because it's the cool thing to do. I ask, do you have no agency? Can you not decide that Gawyn sucks based on your own memory of the series? And if you forgot the series based on the actual facts and not feelings that we laid out for you today? Point one. Point two. Actually, this is your point, so you go ahead.
Oh, point two. You know, I'm hearing a lot of information around Gawyn.
Sorry.
Not hearing a lot of information pertaining to his actions.
Or inaction. I don't think the question today is whether Gawyn deserves empathy, because everyone does up to a certain point, depending on their circumstances. This panel is about whether we hate Gawyn for what he did and whether he sucks. And I think we can all agree, but you will be able to decide later that he does suck. And I think we did talk about this already, but you mentioned that he was incredibly loyal. But is it loyalty if you assume that the person you are supposed to be protecting, the person that's supposed to kind of be your liege, that they don't have control over their own situation? Gawyn is horrible about assuming that Elaine isn't in control whenever she's out on Swan's missions, and that Egwene isn't fully in control and needs a hero to rescue her. And that's annoying to me.
You know, you made the point that Gawyn wasn't out firing people. He wasn't out killing people. Is serial murder really the bar? Because you cannot be a serial killer and still suck.
All right, may I respond?
It's true.
Well, wait, let them finish.
Thank you. I think
Don't
we
pull fucking Kanye, man.
I'm gonna let you finish.
You also mentioned that it was totally understandable that he believed Rand killed Morghese. Who would not believe that? But then you mentioned that it was reasonable for him to not believe Egwene. So you're saying that Gawyn should have listened to fake news rather than the woman that he loved? Come on.
I mean, and,
that was a
Morghese
reluctant
is
clap.
standing there in front of him going, yeah, Gawyn, Rand didn't kill me. I'm literally alive. And Gawyn's like, sometimes I can still hear the voice of my mother. Brutally murdered by Rand.
I would also like to remind you and point out that their defense almost said, no, maybe it completely didn't say anything about the last battle. That was Gawyn.
I wanted to stop. That's why we were going on a bit long. I apologize.
That's fair. Okay, well, all right. Well,
It's in the notes, girl.
I'm really interested. Got you. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about Gawyn in the last battle, because I think it's pretty condemning, literally every choice that he makes, as we outlined previously. And also, I think another thing that we sort of talked about before, but basically, you argued that Gawyn had every right to side with Elida over Elaine and Swan, the sitting Amerlin seat. So what you're saying is that because the Amerlin seat herself didn't confide in some random little guy training in the Warder Yards, he needs to support a coup against the Amerlin seat? That's absurd and stupid and selfish.
and paternalistic.
And I mean, yeah, he thinks he's saving everyone when he's not. And also, I don't really want to talk much about the fights because it made me laugh too hard. But Gawyn gets his ass whooped in all of the big fights that he's in. I mean, he had the blood. He did fight the blood knives. But as my late great grandpa used to say, a blind hog will find an acorn every once in a while. We yield.
And prosecution. Okay, we have 7 minutes until we have to take a vote on the jury. Does the defense have
Yeah,
final
do your
thoughts?
thing. Do your final thing.
Couple. Okay, you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
Okay. I have several notes here, but I'm working on an iPad. It's not as fast as writing things down in real implements. So, reiterating our points about Elida herself and his choice to side with her over Swan Sanche, 'cause that's where we ended, and we kind of began and ended with this point, to be honest. He isn't given reason to trust her any less than any other Aes Sedai who may or may not be suspicious of. We hear stories about what Swan Sanche what Swan comes into Andor and tells tells Morghese to do, tells Gareth Bryn to do, like makes these tells him to do these things and say, well, we thought that this person in Mirandi was going to really help things, and then they're like, okay, so how'd that turn out for you? I'm like, they got killed by a stray arrow in a border raid, so it didn't really work out so well. Swan doesn't have really a great track record with Andor, at least in under these circumstances. And we see that perpetuated with the way that she, as well as many people in the White Tower, very arrogantly treat the sitting rulers and monarchs of the other nations. Morghese is treated with disrespect by not being given information about her children, and then Gawyn himself, who is a prince, he's the first prince of this order, it's his job to look after his sister and to ask for that information well within the reasonable bounds of what he should expect to be given something more than fuck all has to do with. Following along this, I'm gonna skip that. It's just petty. So with the subject of Gawyn and the choices he makes with regard to the younglings and the choices that he makes in staying with them and raiding against Gareth Bryn, what he's doing is taking responsibility for the people who followed him for good or for ill, unlike the people who he should have been able to trust, who abandoned him, who did not take responsibility in the way that he should have in a proper chain of command, such as Elaine, who fucked off to go get captured somewhere in Tyr and needed to be rescued by Matt Cawthon and never thanked him for it. So he's following the orders of the people whose authority he's placed under up until the point where it no longer makes fucking sense, and then he gets out of Dodge. Does he stick to his guns longer than he should have? Absolutely. But who was his idol? Who was his hero? It was Galad fucking Damodred, and we can all admit that Galad also does that shit too. So role models possibly lacking in the Trakand household. Moving on into this last bit about the last battle. So keeping in mind that both Egwene and Gawyn are rather young to be doing both of the things that they're doing, they both make some pretty reckless decisions in all of this. But in the question, is he responsible for Egwene's death? What are the choices that he's making around there? There are plenty of people in that whole long ass 9-hour chapter, because I listen to audiobooks, that are making poor choices that they think are for the best. We have that speech, this wonderful speech from Randall Thor when he is in the pit of doom and he's in the depths of despair. He's being bombarded with images of his friends and the people that he knows and the people that are fighting for the light dying left and right. Are all of the choices that those people made selfish? Are all of the choices that those people made dumb because maybe their death related to the death of another person in their command, or maybe they got caught up in the heat of the moment and they just charged in and they died? I mean, Bashir and his wife, who didn't really have anything else to do because they'd been manipulated by the shadow, they charged in a fucking suicide run. So Gawyn himself, is it the job of a warder to follow orders? Is that what a warder's job is? If you ask Landman Dragarin, should he always obey his Aes Sedai? I mean, I suppose it depends on the relationship that you have with your Aes Sedai. And Egwene and Gawyn, it's like under negotiated kink with these two. There's no fucking communication at all. We don't know if Gawyn doesn't know if Egwene wants him to push back on things or not, until she says no, and he does it anyway. In which case, we move on to his choice to when he goes after Demandred. So is it the choice? Is it selfish for someone to die in an attempt to save lives? If they think that they can do something about that, whether he's bonded to an Aes Sedai or not, he's in a situation where he has power and he thinks that he can use it to do something good. That he, at the very emotionally low point where he's profoundly demoralized about his self-worth and anything that he can possibly contribute, he thinks, maybe I can do this. Maybe my death will mean something. Will win us something.
It's all up to me. I've got this.
Point three.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
In which case, Egwene turns around and says, maybe my death will also mean something, when she chooses to channel more of the power than she can hold, because she believes that she is the only one who can stop Mazrim Taim from ripping the world apart. And so with her weave of the flame of Tarvalin, maybe she didn't need to channel enough to burn herself out, but it is a choice that she made. She chose to give her life and to die. And I feel like Gawyn himself is condemned in this circumstance because he failed in his attempt, whereas Egwene succeeded.
Hold on. Hey, order. All right, go ahead. Are we? All right, so if I can real fast, let me just remind you how Gawyn dies. Okay, so Gawyn dies facing Damodred. He is the only non-magical character to become a Marvel superhero by putting on rings. When we saw him put these rings on, we were like, oh, fuck, shit is going down now, right? And he failed. It happens. so he doesn't die right in front of Damodred. He gets into the arms of his half brother Galad, and Galad is holding him. And Gawyn was like, "I tried, but I didn't succeed. I never succeed. I was never good enough." And then he says, "Hold on, what did he say?"
Win this war for
Oh,
me.
shut up! Shut up!
Win this war for me.
Shut up! You just second.
Mad Mardigan.
Then stop. Then so Galad is like, "Oh, you're my brother." He's like, "You have another brother. He was born on the slopes of Dragon Mount. Oh, that superhero. That's your brother." And then what does he say at the end? "I hated him. I wanted to kill him, but I stopped. And then he fucking dies, right? So hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. Let's compare this to Ingtar. So what is Ingtar's fucking story arc? What is Ingtar's story arc? Ejection. He was bad, and then he redeemed himself at the end. And we do not recognize Gawyn's redemption at the end. His redemption at the end is one of the most powerful parts of this tragedy. The tragedy of Gawyn Trakan. And you guys are shitting on him. I rest my case.
No, it's okay. I actually forgot. Like, are we end at 3:50? We have 10 minutes. So some questions and closing arguments.
My heart's racing. I was just screaming. Fuck you, Gawyn. Why are you threatening my health?
So my name is Brighton.
And that's how Brother Dan died.
Go ahead.
So my name is Brighton, and I have a question for for you guys over here.
Okay.
Prosecution. So one of your main topics is that he betrayed the White Tower, and by doing so, he betrayed the women he loved, Elaine and Egwene. But at that point, did he know that they were with Swanche's side? Did he just assume that Swan was a rebel because Swan broke laws of the White Tower? So he was trying to protect the tower for the women he loved.
I have something, but you can go.
It's too easy.
Did he
just lobbing them
actually
up there.
betray anybody in that situation?
So there's a couple of points here that we need to take into account. Yes, you are correct. Gawyn was beguiled by Elida, straight up, 100%. She played on his emotions and essentially manipulated him into saying, and she promised, using her cute little Aes Sedai speech, that she would make sure that Elaine is safe. Now, remember the background. Gawyn looks at Elida as an aunt, a mean, crusty old aunt, but an aunt because he grew up around her. So he has no reason not to believe her. But again, he grew up around Aes Sedai. Like, come on, man. You know how they are. It's always twisting words around and stuff. So yes, he was deceived in the beginning. And we will even sort of relent that in the beginning, he was a character in which things happened to him. And maybe he did his best, maybe he didn't. That's up for debate. But we already established that empathy is valid for all characters. What this trial is about. Do we pity him? Do we empathize? Absolutely.
I mean,
Is he
you've already
stupid and
lost
does he
then.
suck?
You don't hate him,
Yes.
you empathize.
Hey, take empathy out of it, and sure, Gawyn's a dick, right?
The prosecution rests.
Jesus.
We do.
Lindsay. Hi. So the defense argues that we all sort of hate Gawyn because he just failed at the choices that he made. But my argument, and I wonder if you agree, is that we're judging him based on the reasoning behind those actions, which is based on his own sort of inferiority complex and desire to be the hero of the story rather than being the guy a step behind as he was trained to be his whole life.
Yeah, as we've mentioned before, Gawyn suffers from a hero complex. He wants to be the one in the spotlight, and he wants to be the one saving everyone, even though the women in his life are incredibly capable, powerful women. Somehow, some way, he's decided that they cannot operate without his protection. Therefore, he helps with the coup on the White Tower, even though Swan is the actual Amerlin seat. So I don't know. Your wording earlier confused me because it's not like she is not leading a coup. She is the establishment, and he has no right to know anything that she's doing because she's the head of the information. I mean, yeah, he's a child. Like, so, and Elaine is the one that he should be answering to. And that's where he should get his information from. And Elaine is off doing her own thing, and somehow he's dissatisfied with that. And so I think he's childish. He wants to be in charge. He wants to be the leader, and that's not what he was born to do. And he's just pushing against it the entire book. Back up Elaine. Support Elaine. Elaine is his boss, essentially. And instead, he wants to put himself in front of her. But
My life before hers. She left him behind. How can he do his job if she doesn't take him with?
I love everything about this panel. You guys are the greatest. Thank you all so much.
Your Honor,
Everything is amazing. You guys are amazing.
it's time to vote.
We do need to have a vote. We can choose to do this in a couple of ways. Personally, I would like to do it clad in light, but I understand not everyone's comfortable with that. So we're gonna do it by a cheer, if that's cool. Everyone. All right. So all in favor of the prosecution and Gawyn sucks, please make some noise. All right. Those who agree with the defense's arguments, please do your thing.
Underwhelming.
What was the first part?
Do we hate Gawyn or does Gawyn suck? Because he can suck, but that doesn't mean we hate him.
Let's go.
That's a good discussion.
So do we need to redo? Do we need to redo, Your Honor? Do we?
Heretofore, we will meet in 52 weeks to determine the difference between.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent job, y'all.
All right, who's responsible for stopping the live stream?
Oh, yeah.
Also, just so you guys know, at 9 o'clock, Black Star Podcast will be discussing weaves next door.
Nice.
Like hair weaves?
We'll be acting them out as well.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Go Gawyn, Team Gawyn.